Ireland is known as the Emerald Isle. This is because of its lush greenery and rolling hills. The country receives a lot of rain each year, which keeps the grass green and the plants blooming. The island's geography comprises relatively low-lying mountains surrounding a central plain, with several navigable rivers extending inland. Its lush vegetation is a product of its mild but changeable climate, which is free of extremes in temperature. Ireland is known throughout the world for its vast amount of castles. Ireland's history is dotted with wars and violence, so castles were built to protect families from invaders. The country has been plagued by numerous fights for power, but today it is thriving as an independent nation. The Irish literary tradition is one of the most illustrious in the world, famous for 4 Nobel Prize winners and for many other writers of international renown. Irish culture has had a significant influence on other cultures, especially in the fields of literature.
Look, we're staying here then until, say, an hour and a half, 10 minutes before 2 o'clock. So longer than they've got. It's a lovely day today, so.
The population of Ireland still has not bounced back from the famine it faced years ago. During that time, the population was 8 million. Today, the population lingers below 7 million. The Wicklow Mountains form the largest continuous upland area and stretch outside its borders into counties Dublin, Wexford, and Carlow. Where the mountains extend into County Dublin, they are known locally as the Dublin Mountains. The highest peak is Lagnakilla at 925 meters high. Glendalough is renowned for an early medieval monastic settlement founded in the 6th century by Saint Kevin. Politically, the island is divided between the Republic of Ireland, an independent state, and Northern Ireland, a constituent country of the United Kingdom. Both are members of the European Union. There is free movement of people, goods, services, and capital across the border. The Republic today ranks amongst the wealthiest countries in the world. A period of rapid economic expansion from 1995 onwards became known as the Celtic Tiger period, which was brought to an end in 2008 with an unprecedented financial crisis. Despite the two jurisdictions using two distinct currencies, the euro and the pound sterling, a growing amount of commercial activity is carried out on an all-Ireland basis. This is Epic Ireland, a mall just 50 meters away from the hotel. In the evening, we joined the last optional tour, which is of the Guinness Brewery. As Carlsberg is to Denmark and Heineken is to the Netherlands, that's how Guinness is to Ireland.
That is quite a substantial commitment, and people probably thought he was mad in the head, but he was a real man of vision with a very, very strong belief in what.
Guinness is an Irish dry stout produced by Diageo that originated in the brewery of Arthur Guinness at St. James Gate, Dublin. Guinness is one of the most successful beer brands worldwide. It is brewed in almost 50 countries and is available in over 120. Stout originally referred to a beer's strength, but eventually shifted meaning toward body and color. At another time in Amsterdam, we had the opportunity to visit the Heineken Museum, which presented their operation in a different way as shown in the inserted video. The Heineken Experience, located in Amsterdam, is a historic brewery and visitor center for the Dutch Pilsner Heineken beer. The industrial facility was built as the first Heineken brewery in 1867. It served as the brewing facility until 1988, when a more modern, larger facility was constructed on the outskirts of the city. Since 2001, it has been the Heineken Experience. Guinness had not just entertaining but educational aspects as well. The Guinness tour was more interesting not just due to the size of the tour area, but the interior of the building as well. It was constructed in such a way that a lot of the other floors can be seen from any of the other floors you were in. The gift shop at the ground floor also had a great deal of products for anyone to choose from. And the drinking area had a beautiful panoramic view of the city. Guinness & Company Brewery makes almost 2 billion euros worth of beverage annually. In the 1930s, Guinness became the 7th largest company in the world. Before 1939, if a Guinness brewer wishes to marry a Catholic, his resignation was requested. It had no qualms about selling drinks to Catholics, but it did everything it could to avoid employing them until the 1960s. A widget is a device placed in a container of beer to manage the characteristics of the beer's head. The original widget was patented in Ireland by Guinness. The floating widget is found in cans of beer as a hollow plastic sphere, 3 centimeters in diameter with at least one small hole. Some canned beers are pressurized by adding liquid nitrogen, which vaporizes and expands in volume after the can is sealed. The presence of dissolved nitrogen allows smaller bubbles to be formed, which increases the creaminess of the head. After some drinking and dinner at the Guinness restaurant, we end the Irish Explorer tour and head for our vacation after this vacation. In the interest of taking full advantage of the trips we make, we stop by London, being the stopover of our flight back to the Middle East. It maximizes our travel experience minus the plane fare to a different destination. A 4-star hotel of a 5-star chain is always a less expensive way of getting a good package for less money. This is another Hilton hotel just about 150 meters away from where we're staying. This is Queensway Street, just a few blocks away from where we're staying, where the shops and the restaurants and the closest tube station is. We were able to find at Queensway a shuttle service to take us back to the airport for only £35 instead of the $70 we paid going to the hotel. Whitley's is a shopping center in London. It was London's first department store, located in the Bayswater area. Queensway is home to many Chinese and Middle Eastern restaurants, cafes, pubs, souvenir shops, and a few high street retail chains. Queensway is identified in the London Plan as one of 35 major centers in Greater London. It is reported that a wealthy Brunei family has acquired a large part of Queensway in order to redevelop it. Bayswater and Queensway tube stations are on Queensway. Westminster Abbey, formerly titled the Collegiate Church of St. Peter at Westminster, is a Gothic Abbey church in the city of Westminster, London. It is one of the UK's most notable religious buildings and the traditional place of coronation and burial site for British monarchs. Since the coronation in 1066 of both King Harold and William the Conqueror, every English and British monarch has been crowned in Westminster Abbey. The practice spread to include generals, admirals, politicians, doctors, and scientists such as Isaac Newton, Charles Darwin, and Stephen Hawking. The chapter house was built concurrently with the east parts of the abbey under Henry III between about 1245 and 1253. The chapter house was originally used in the 13th century by Benedictine monks for daily meetings. It later became a meeting place of the King's Great Council and the Commons, predecessors of the Parliament. Since 1560, it is no longer an abbey nor a cathedral, having instead the status of a Church of England Royal Peculiar, or a church responsible directly to the sovereign. Photography inside the abbey is prohibited except in certain areas adjacent to it. The building itself was a Benedictine monastic church until the monastery was dissolved in 1539. From the Middle Ages, aristocrats were buried inside chapels, while monks and other people associated with the abbey were buried in the cloisters and other areas. Subsequently, it became one of Britain's most significant honors to be buried or commemorated in the abbey. Although the cloisters and the few rooms adjacent to it are the only places photography is allowed, it gives a little taste of what the abbey looks like inside. Westminster Abbey was formerly a Catholic church, but in the English Reformation, by 1559, was transformed along with much other church property in the British Isles into an Anglican church. Anglicanism is often called the middle way between Catholicism and Protestantism, and another door to the gift shop which you can go to even without visiting the abbey. This royal church offers daily services for all. An added welcome experience to traveling is the opportunity to advertently or inadvertently attend religious rituals. Whatever denomination, from it something not only can be seen but can be felt as well of the place. And again, the imposing facade of the abbey. Over at Haymarket Street is Her Majesty's Theatre, where the Phantom of the Opera is showing. This is a novel by French writer Gaston Leroux, published in 1909. It's been showing at Her Majesty's Theatre for 30 years now.
Stereo File 1 Dispatch Channel.
The Phantom of the Opera is partly inspired by historical events at the Paris Opera during the 19th century and a fictitious tale. The Palais Garnier is an opera house built from 1861 to 1875 for the Paris Opera. Its central plot revolves around a soprano who becomes the obsession of a mysterious, disfigured musical genius living in the subterranean labyrinth beneath the Paris Opera House. The musical opened in London's West End in 1986. It is the longest running show in Broadway, New York. It is the second longest running West End musical after Les Miserables, and the third longest running West End show after The Mousetrap. Phantom was the most financially successful entertainment event until The Lion King surpassed. Her Majesty's Theatre was constructed in 1897. The name of the theatre changes with the sext of the monarch. It first became the King's Theatre in 1714 on the accession of George I. It was renamed Her Majesty's Theatre in 1837. Most recently, the theatre was known as His Majesty's Theatre from 1901 to 1952, and it became Her Majesty's on the accession of Elizabeth II. The theatre's capacity is 1,200 seats. The land beneath it is on a long-term lease from the Crown Estate. The Crown Estate is a collection of lands and holdings in the United Kingdom belonging to the British monarch, making it the sovereign's public estate. After that excellent show, the next day we head for Victoria Station from Queensway to attend Mass at the Westminster Cathedral. Westminster Cathedral, or the Metropolitan Cathedral of the Precious Blood of our Lord Jesus Christ in London, is the mother church of the Catholic Church in England and Wales. It was consecrated in 1910. The cathedral site formed part of the marsh around Westminster. It was reclaimed by the Benedictine monks, who were the builders and owners of Westminster Abbey. The cathedral opens just before the 7 a.m. Mass on Mondays to Fridays, closing at 7 p.m. You can go up to its bell tower where a nice view of the city can be seen. The London Eye is a giant Ferris wheel on the south bank of the River Thames. It is Europe's tallest Ferris wheel and is the most popular paid tourist attraction in the United Kingdom. The walk along the banks of the River Thames is a long, interesting walk where you can see baskers, shops, restaurants, and what have you. We'll be walking for 3 kilometers to get to the Tate Modern Museum. If you proceed for another 1.5 kilometers, you'll be at the Tower Bridge, where the Tower of London is just beside it. We're at the Queen's Walk along the River Thames. At 346 kilometers, it is the longest river in England and the second longest in the United Kingdom. It flows through Oxford, where it is called the Isis, through Reading, Henley-on-Thames, and Windsor. Tate Modern is one of the largest museums of modern and contemporary art in the world. It is based in the former Bankside Power Station. As with the other UK's other national galleries and museums, there is no admission charge for access to the collection displays, but tickets must be purchased for the major temporary exhibitions. Contemporary art is the art of today. It is produced in the second half of the 20th century or in the 21st century. Contemporary artists work in a globally influenced, culturally diverse, and technologically advancing world. Some define contemporary art as art produced within our lifetime, recognizing that lifetimes and lifespans vary. The classification of contemporary art as a special type of art rather than a general adjectival phrase goes back to the beginnings of modernism in the English-speaking world. One of the difficulties many people have in approaching contemporary artwork is its diversity. Diversity of material, form, subject matter, and even time periods. It is distinguished by the very lack of a uniform organizing principle, ideology, or ism that we so often see in other, or oftentimes more familiar, art periods and movements. In the contemporary period, which is 1950 to now, the concept of avant-garde may come into play in determining what art is noticed by galleries, museums, and collectors. The avant-garde are people or works that are experimental, radical, or unorthodox with respect to art, culture, or society.
This is a view of the River Thames from the balcony of the second floor of modern Tate.
The Millennium Bridge is a steel suspension bridge for pedestrians crossing the River Thames, linking Bankside and the City of London. More than 20 years after his death, pop artist and cultural icon Andy Warhol remains one of the most influential figures in contemporary art and culture. Warhol was born and raised in Pittsburgh. He initially pursued a successful career as a commercial illustrator. Their art is a dynamic combination of materials, methods, concepts, and subjects that challenge traditional boundaries. Strictly speaking, the term contemporary art refers to art made and produced by artists living today. Contemporary artists are those whose peak of activity can be situated somewhere between 1970, which is the advent of postmodernism, and the present day. Contemporary art is notoriously difficult to understand and can be quite intimidating. For one, unlike past movements, the range of artistic styles of the present haven't been digested by critics, curators, and art historians and don't lend themselves to easy categorization. When engaging with contemporary art, viewers are challenged to set aside questions such as, is a work of art good? Or is the work aesthetically pleasing? Instead, viewers consider whether art is challenging or interesting. Contemporary artists may question traditional ideas on how art is defined, what constitutes art, and how art is made. Contemporary art does not have one single objective or point of view. Its view is refracted, prismatic, and multifaceted, reflecting the diversity of the world today in all of its complexities. Contemporary art reflects life as we know it. It can therefore be contradictory, confusing, and open-ended. So from the no doubt about it beautiful Irish landscape to the either you like it or you don't Tate modern, cheers!